Bride Trump coming to you from my home in New York. Donald Trump unites America through opportunities for all, while Joe Biden and the radical left divide America for their political gain. Joining me is an award-winning actor and author, Isaiah Washington. Isaiah, we're so excited to get you on. It's our 250th show. Thank you so much for being with us.
That's really good. I'm honored. 250 episodes.
Yeah.
That's nothing to take lightly.
Well, what a special guest to have for our 250th show. And look, you've been such an outspoken, very strong advocate for the president on many fronts. And following the passage of the First Step Act, you publicly announced your support for President Trump. Tell me why you did that and what kind of response you got.
Well, I didn't publicly announce it. It looked like the mainstream media took one of my tweets, if you can remember.
Funny
I
how they
happened
do
to,
that.
yeah, they cherry picked one of my tweets, which was fine. I made a tweet like on April Fool's Day, pretty much tongue in cheek, saying, "Well, the irony that this president is supposed to be so racist, but yet I'm sitting here watching him jump off the teleprompter and inviting." Returning citizens to the podium to speak on their behalf for being let out because of the First Step Act. Now, you and I know in this business, in political arena, you do not stray from the teleprompter. You do not go rogue. And I was sitting in the White House in that room, and when I saw him do that, personally and physically, I had already been supportive of the policy, but I became a supporter of the man. When I saw him do that, because I know when there's cameras and hair and makeup, those are things you just simply don't do unless you're absolutely being authentic and you're actually feeling it. So there's a picture of me sitting next to Steve Ross. I was there, very much a part of the Artists and Athletes Alliance. And it looks like people say I'm asleep. But at that moment, I'm leaning backwards. And they caught me actually in that photograph. You look at that photograph, I'm leaning backwards. People say, "Oh, he's nodding off." No, that was actually the moment where I was literally physically blown away.
Wow.
Because of what I felt in that room. So
Wow.
At that point, that is when I made my decision, or the press made the decision based on my tweet to try to politicize it. But I knew then that something was really, really wrong. And for someone who's already been besmirched and lied on in the press, that's when I really started looking at this thing beyond policy and start seeing that there's something wrong with why we're attacking the man and not addressing all the good things that he's done in the short 3.5 years.
Wow. Well, listen, it's not easy to be ousted sometimes as a Trump supporter because, as you know, they will attack you to no end. People say all sorts of terrible things about you. And you're right. Many politicians will never, Isaiah, stray from the teleprompter. But what you found is what I've known for a long time and what so many other people know about Donald Trump is that he is not a typical politician. He's a man who really wanted to make a difference, who didn't need to take this job, who didn't need to become the president. He probably would be liked by a lot more people right now had he never done this. But I think he knew that he could ultimately make a difference in our country. So I just want to say thank you to you for standing up for your beliefs, for not being afraid to say, you know what, right is right, and I'm seeing what's right here with this man, and no matter what they try to say about him, because we know, Isaiah, the radical left will go to any lengths to try and defeat President Trump, even exploiting tragedy to create racial tensions and rioting. What are your thoughts on what we've seen happen in this country over the past couple of weeks, really past month or so?
Well, a lot of people don't understand. I was in New York from 1986 to 1996 for 10 years. I knew who Donald Trump was during probably the most highest polarization in New York at the time during the 80s, Bensonhurst. I understand the lawlessness and the corruption that was happening during the Mayor Koch and David Dinkins. Crown Heights, I was there. For the 92 riots, I was there. I understand that. What I didn't understand is that suddenly every 4 years, the plight of probably one of our most disenfranchised and poorest people, that are so-called Black people, are being used, their plight are being used against society and held up as something that we've never seen before. We understand there are problems. We understand there are a lot of problems. But what I don't understand is that the media does not really want to support all of the solutions that has come out of this administration. And then when I see that in the news and with people being divided, then that becomes more about evil versus good for me.
Right.
I've always, what people don't know, I've always been a Frederick Douglass Republican without a home. And through the path of this administration, with President Trump, has given me an opportunity to actually look at an opportunity to start making a pathway, to start talking about serious solutions, serious conversations about how we as a people, as human beings, can drop this divisive conversation about race and really get to the matter. And the fact of the matter is that it's a historical conversation, a debate that we're using every 4 years. It's not really a political, it's just a trigger.
Right.
So when we get past that and understand that, okay, what now? What can we do together in a bipartisan way? The administration has already done HBCUs, opportunity zones. We could go on and on and on, even dealing with the women's plights of Native American women being made it a law to actually investigate them. It's like, why are we not talking about all the good things to say?
Yeah, well, I think it is, Isaiah. It was in 2016. I think it continues to be a very, very strong silent majority out there that backs President Trump. I always say, I think even more now than even in 2016, because what you're saying on so many levels is what I think so many people have felt out there. In 2016, maybe they weren't sure what they would get with Donald Trump. Maybe they bought into some of the media narrative about Donald Trump. But you judge people not by what others say about them. You judge them by what they do. And when you look at what this president has done, all of those things you just laid out and so much more, I think there are so many people out there who are not going to talk about it. They certainly won't be posting on Twitter like you bravely have done and continue to do. But I do think that they will go out and vote for Donald Trump on November 3rd, because I think so many of us right now, especially in this really tough time in our country, we all feel like, look, we are all one American family. We don't want to be divided. We want to embrace one another. We want to help one another. We want to lift each other up in this country. That is how we can all achieve the American dream. And I think so many people feel like that. And it's so sad to see how the media capitalizes on all the division out there, and they try to stoke the hate and they stoke the division. But we do have to get past one thing before Donald Trump wins again on November 3rd, and that's Joe Biden, right? So Joe Biden, Isaiah, continues to embrace the radical left. We've seen it time and time again. Yet he cannot be called out for his extremism because, Isaiah, he hasn't held a press conference in 3 months. We have no idea what Joe Biden's thinking, except we know what he said a couple of weeks ago, that if you don't vote for him, you ain't black. A lot of people have a problem with that. Could the contrast between Joe Biden and President Trump be any more stark?
Joe Biden, in my opinion, is probably one of the biggest hypocrites I've ever seen on the face of the planet. I remember, I'm old enough to remember what was going on when I thought that Clinton was the first black president, because that's what the media was telling me, and that's what Arsenio Hall told me, and all the people that I was supposed to trust and I believed in on this thing called television, which is the most powerful opiate in the world. But I will say this. I'm tired of the lies. I'm doing something about it. Instead of bickering and hunkering down and dealing with crazy narratives, I've come up with a wonderful concept where we just have a conversation, whether I agree with you or not. Let's have a holistic conversation to talk about how we can move forward and actually continue the strong path that the president has put forth for all of us and take advantage of that. There's many bipartisan things, great things that have happened. The fact that the mainstream media is not talking about it, that's a problem. Right. But we know what that is. We know what that is. We know what that is. And come November 3rd, a lot of people, even people that I know that were staunch liberals right here in California, are already blowing me up, suddenly like wanting to know how to buy a gun, shoot a gun, when they thought guns were bad just 2 months ago. I mean, everything is topsy-turvy. It's like, it's really interesting. But the good news, Laura, the good news is that, is that people are coming to terms with their own decision. Right. And I think that's their American way. It's that, I didn't vote for President Trump at the time. I was so inundated with the negativity in the press. I was in Jamaica and I was hearing all the same things, but I was not going to vote. At the time, I was with the Green Party, and I voted for the Green Party based on the information I thought that I could trust. Now, having seen him in action with my own eyes, and I've been in this business a long time, I understand psychology and body language more than the average person. And what I saw and what I continue to see when I have been in the White House, and what they don't report, and if he's not on C-SPAN physically, and how he interacts with the people, and he loves to be loved. You know that.
Yes.
So I'm sure it's very difficult for him to, who would have thought that he would become president and he received all this hate? He has been loved for years
That's
for
right.
just being who he is. And I'm glad he's not a politician. I don't expect him to be the most erudite person as a politician. Most of the 500 some people in that place are not the most erudite, excellent, qualified individuals in Congress. We all know that. So if you really want to talk about something, let's talk about the verbiage of the 13th Amendment and let's talk about term limits. That's what I want to tweet about when I get back on Twitter. Term limits. And let's look at the verbiage of the 13th Amendment because you can see how it could be misconstrued and probably undoing what we tried to do with the First Step Back. So when he did that and he challenged that money, then I knew right then and there, boy, the whole world's going to be coming at him with everything but the kitchen sink, and we've seen that.
Yes,
but that's
we
a
have.
good thing because now he's exposed the corruption on both sides of the fence at the local, federal, and state level. And that's a good thing. It's like lancing a horrible, horrible boil. It's very painful. It's very ugly. It's not a good thing to look at, not a good thing to watch. But I do believe the path moving forward come November 3rd, we will all start seeing the same thing that everybody else is seeing.
Wow, what a great analogy. I never thought of it like that, but you're so right. And what a great analogy. And Isaiah, I just have to say you're such a fresh breath of air, I think, for so many people. And you really inspire.
Well, I took a shower before this event, so my wife agrees. So.
So there we go. There's the reason. But really, you inspire so many people, whether you know it or not. There are a lot of people out there that watch you, that see what you do, and really they're able to speak out on their own and say the things that are on their hearts because of what you've done and the bravery I think that you've shown. Like I said, it's not easy. So really, I want to say thank you. Thank you for being a patriot and loving this country and fighting every day for what you know is best for this country. And thank you so much for being with us today. We hope you'll come back, and we really appreciate it.
Hey, thank you. I'm an oath keeper. And like I said, I was kind of pushed into this like the reluctant hero like Neo. But now that I've been thoroughly red-pilled, I'm very clear on the vision and how to move forward. It's very clear. Thank you so much for the time, Laura.
Thank you, Isaiah. Great to be with you. The radical left may continue to divide, but Donald Trump will continue to unite America for 4 more years. That's the real news for today. If you'd like to get involved with Team Trump, go to DonaldJTrump.com or download the official Trump 2020 app from the App Store or the Google Play Store. I'm Laura Trump, coming to you from my home in New York. Thanks for joining us, everybody.